Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the weekly Parshat Shia. This week is VaYikra. VaYikra follows the end of Shmos. Shmos was finished last week. And the Baal HaTurim says, well, they built a Mishkan. They built a Mishkan. What are you supposed to do with it? So you have a beautiful sanctuary. What are you supposed to do? The idea of the sanctuary was the Mizbeach, the altar, in order to bring sacrifices to Hashem. All right, what does Hashem need? A sacrifice of an ox, or a sheep, or a goat, or a bird, or a grain sacrifice, mincha. What does he need it for? Doesn't eat. It doesn't drink. What does he need it for? Medrash tells us that each sacrifice effected a certain rectification in Himmel, in heaven. Each sacrifice was able to bring us to a higher level. Let's take an ola, a burnt offering, first offering mentioned in the Parshat. What did it do? It's burnt. The whole thing, except for the skin of the animal, goes on the altar. Nothing is given for any human being except the skin. What did it do? Medrash says, Mechaper al herure alev, to bring forgiveness for the heart's thoughts. Now think about it. You have thoughts all the time. Most are good. Some, and some are not good at all. But every person has that. You have to learn to sacrifice to Hashem. You have to learn to give over of yourself to Hashem. That's what the sacrifice is for. So the verse says, verse 4, V'somach yodoi al rosh hapor, you should lean on the head of the animal. Why lean on the animal? Because Chazal tell us that when you lean on the animal, you're transferring your animalistic attitudes or characteristics to the animal. You're telling yourself that that's where these feelings belong. That's what's important. That's where these feelings belong, in an animalistic environment, an animalistic body, not in a human being. A human being has to be higher than that. That's the idea of the sacrifices. There's sin offerings, there are peace offerings, grain offerings. The idea behind it is there are a lot of different things that we do. They're all different. This goes here, this goes there. But they're different. Same thing is we have different reactions. We have different understandings. We have different things that come to us. What we have to do is learn to differentiate. I have to make sacrifices. If I have a wife and children, my time is not only mine. I have to give over to the family. If I have a business, I have to give to the business. If I have classes to give, if I have studies to study, if I have to give charity, it's all sacrifices. Not only that, a lot of times it's what you call serious nefesh. We're giving over our soul. Right? Chapter 2 in VaYikra starts off, Nefesh ki sakrif mikem, a soul that will sacrifice. The earlier verses say, if a person, the later verses by the other sacrifices, if a person by grain sacrifice, if a soul, Rashi brings, Svarim bring, what is the value? A grain offering? You bring a 2-ton ox, okay, it's worth something. You bring a sheep, okay, it's worth something. Grain, how much does it cost? What's it worth? And that's where it says soul. To teach us is to sacrifice that counts. I have to do things. Sometimes I have to sacrifice a little. And sometimes I have to sacrifice a lot. Sometimes I have to sacrifice a lot. That's what we have to teach ourselves. The sacrifices that were brought in the sanctuary, in the Mishkan, were all meant that sacrifice. Maybe I don't deserve it. I could bring a burnt offering. I didn't do anything wrong. I could bring a peace offering. That's a great thing. Everybody has part of it. Or if I realize I erred, I can bring a sin offering. Yeah, that's important. But I have to sacrifice. I have to sacrifice of myself. I have to take myself and say to myself, right, you have to give of yourself. You want to establish a friendship? How do you know it's a friend? Maybe it's just an acquaintance, or what we call a passing acquaintance. Right? Friends, who's a real friend? Chover in Hebrew is a friend. Chover is from the word chibur. You're joined. You're attached. But why? Because you sacrifice for the other. You do something. You sacrifice for your wife. Sacrifice for your children. Sacrifice for your husband. For your parents. There's plenty to sacrifice. I could sacrifice myself. I could sacrifice money. But I have to learn to sacrifice of myself. If I learn to sacrifice of myself, then Be'ez Hashem, I will see forgiveness, both from my friends and certainly from Hashem. We're human. We do things wrong. And I need forgiveness from Hashem. So let's go ahead and sacrifice for somebody else. Give a little bit extra charity, especially now. This coming Sunday is Purim. Almost as Pesach. We have to sacrifice. I want to have a joyous Purim. I want to have a great Pesach. If I sacrifice for somebody else, I will have it. And that's the lesson for the week. Have a great Shabbos. Good evening. And I hope you enjoyed the shir. And if you like to shir, please pass it on to others and let them all get interested in Breslov and Rabbi Nachman's teachings. We look forward to hearing from a lot more of you. All the best.